Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm not sure where everyone's from, but here today I have a special guest, and she is going to go over resumes. How are you doing today?
Hey Kevin, I'm good. How are you?
Good. And just for the sake of the audience, because people are always watching over here, what's tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for inviting me on. I am Teegan Bartos. For those of you who are tuning in, whether on the live stream, go ahead and drop where you're tuning in from in the comments, or if you're watching this on replay, happy belated Halloween if you're catching on replay. I am the founder of Jolt Your Career, a resume writing and career coaching business that helps ambitious professionals land roles quickly, making more money than ever before. So typically, I work with mid to senior level professionals, but I've been collaborating on some things with Kevin, working with people who are transitioning into the tech field. So this has been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to impart some resume wisdom on you so you can be more attractive to your target companies today.
Awesome. And it's for just for the sake of talking. I remember I spoke on your stream actually on LinkedIn, just for the sake before we go over resumes, just for the sake of talking. And I spoke about how customer service is very important, even if you work restaurant, retail, or any of those like fast food and stuff like that. And I think you worked in food before as well. So for you, in your opinion, like how important is having that retail experience or that people skills experience in IT?
So I primarily work with senior level IT leaders. So, these are going to be, directors, chief information officers, things like that. And the way they get to the way they continue to be rapidly promoted throughout their career is because they have that customer service, those interpersonal skills, that foundation of being able to take complex ideas and turn them into something that anybody can understand. The ability to get that influence, that buy-in, and that's something that hospitality definitely teaches us. So my first job, I worked at Jimmy John's, as a 15-year-old. And then in college, I was a Bacardi girl. And even once I started working for the Department of Labor. So for those of you who aren't a US audience, Department of Labor is like the government agency that it helps people get jobs and tracks different data within the workforce. And so even when I worked for them, I still worked in the industry because there is so much rewards, just the networking. Like, how many people do you meet in a day when you work, in hospitality, whether that be restaurant or, retail, whatever? You meet so many different people. And if you leverage that, then it can definitely get you far in your career. So entry level IT roles, transitioning from one industry to IT, you definitely want to say that's a competitive advantage for you because you feel comfortable talking to people. You're used to solving people's problems. You're used to dealing with people who are in a heightened emotional sense. And when a customer is angry, right, the fact that you're able to calm them and resolve the issue, it transfers over really well into helping somebody with a tech issue. So absolutely crucial experience. I mean, you can have a successful career in IT without having that experience. But people who do have it, I see them climb the ranks a lot quicker, and I see them have much more success and recognition within the industry.
And that just going just holding on that information is very important. Like I said, I tell people key people skills are very important. Like, I give you a real example. What happened to me yesterday? I worked for an MSP company, and I went on site, and I was working directly with the CEO of a company, and he's an older gentleman. He's like in his mid 60s, 70s, around there. And a lot of people that are part of our team, they give him a bad experience because he's an older guy. So when you're obviously as you get older, you're not good with technology, right? And I
Yeah.
tell people that just keep in mind that you're gonna get old at some point, right? So you're gonna be bad with IT too at some point. So you gotta have patience with people because it's gonna happen to you. It's gonna happen to me. It's gonna happen to everyone, right? You
Yeah.
cannot you cannot you can't say anything about father time. Father time takes care. It catches you eventually. So I
Shoot,
was
and
working.
with how quickly IT changes, it's like in 18 months you're going to be the old person because a new technology is going to be coming
Yeah,
out. You got to learn.
exactly. So I'm going back to that story. I'm working with him, and someone came and gave him a bad experience. He told me, oh, they didn't have patience with me because I'm an older gentleman, and I'm done with technology. And I'm like, don't say that. You're not done with technology. It's just let me figure it out for you. And I had his two iPads, his iPhone. He has like an application that it's called One Password, and it has all his passwords in there. It's like similar to there's a few different ones. It's like this Vault something. There's different applications. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm trying to help him, and he emailed my manager, and he told my manager like, oh well, Kevin's a sweet guy. He's very professional. He didn't make me feel like I was dumb. He took care of me. The person that was here before was a poor example of customer service, and I'm happy, and it was a pleasure just to work with Kevin. I didn't know your company had someone like that in their team. Like it's crazy how you have one professional in IT that is not good with customer service, and then the other one comes and turns it around. And I got an email from my manager that he gave me like a shout out and a salute to the team and everyone because of my customer service. And we do service, right? So they had a bad rating for that client, that customer, a very bad rating, and they told me just be careful with him because he's not happy with our service. And I went over there and I changed it from 50% to 100%, and they're happy
Nice.
right now with their with us being part of their company, being part of their infrastructure. So that's why I tell people that don't like, you gotta have good customer service. It's just something that if you have good customer service, you know how to control the mood and the frustration. Like you know how to you immediately get a feel for the person. You just could
Yep.
tell if they're having a bad day or a good day, and you could just change it around and make a 360 and just be like, oh man, that guy was awesome. I didn't know you had someone like that. Oh, that guy just he made me feel like I'm not dumb. Like I don't know of course I don't know what I'm doing because I'm not tech savvy, but he actually showed me how to get these things done, and he didn't get mad at me at all. So that's something that I wanted to share because I was working with him, and he was really surprised by my customers. So he didn't expect that from me. But I do come from a restaurant background, so that's the other thing. So that customer service piece is very important. Like you could change the mood of a room just being in a room with different people just by having good customer service. And I cannot stress that enough. So
Yeah,
mhm.
absolutely. Because that's going to be what's going to make or break your organization being able to retain a client. And then also, when it comes time for your performance evaluation, you're going to be like, you remember this review and this one and this one and this one. And that's going to be a way to, get a little bit more than that 4% raise at the end of the year.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah, I
So
see somebody from Chicago in the comments. What's
yeah,
up,
I see that.
Jamie?
Yeah, so that's what it is for me. Like I tell people, you gotta have good customer service, and in most of my jobs, like I got bonuses because of good customer service. It's not. It
Yeah.
comes to me because if you do good, you get good, right? You get things come to you. You don't got to do anything. If you do a good job, things come to you. So that's just how it is in IT, and just having those people skills is very very important in IT, and that's how I've been able to climb the ladder as well. It's like you said before, you got to have those people skills. Like you could be good with IT. I feel like anyone can learn IT, but you can't teach customer service. That's why I stress the living hell out of it. That's just me. But
It makes a
anyway,
difference. It definitely makes a difference.
yeah, yeah. So, and I work with so for any information anyone is watching today, I work with executives and C-level folks. I work with financial folks that make over six figures, which makes way more money than six figures. You have to know how to talk to them. If you don't know how to talk to them, you're gonna be in a world of trouble. And they smell that in you. They smell that person that's green and don't know what they're doing. They could tell. So you got to know how to interact with those people, those financial firms. Because I work in a hedge fund environment, so you got to know how to deal with those different types of personalities. So that's how it
Yep.
is.
And that's definitely something that we learned coming out of the hospitality industry, whether this, the performing arts or restaurants or club scenes or whatever it may be, you can get a gauge. Like, is this person in a rush? Does this person want to chat? Is this the person that's going to order a drink? You know, every single 12 people at that table is going to order one by one every single time you come back and throw your whole entire routine off. It's the same, that time management and the coaching of like your section. When you're in a restaurant industry, it's like, okay, like, how do I get these people, you know, to order, or, you know, get an idea of when they're ready to order, so I'm not having to come and interrupt them, making sure their water's already full. That's the same thing once you're in the industry. Once you're in the IT industry, you get those vibes, like you were saying, that intuition. That's really hard to train. Like, yeah, you can say, okay, see that person's body language, or see that email, it's in all caps, they're clearly irritated. But it is like that. It's very difficult to train personality, and there's certain people who have the personality to serve, to educate, to make things easier for people. And there's certain people who don't have it, and it makes a difference in people's career and how successful they are, if determining whether it's a good fit or not a good fit for you.
Mm-hmm. So,
man, these comment sections.
Yeah, it gets crazy over here. So, but we're not gonna answer any questions. I actually want you to share your screen, and then we'll go over the questions afterwards. So let's go over that resume real quick. I know everyone's been dying to look at the resume, so let's do that real quick. And let me share the screen. There we go. Hopefully everyone can see. We might have to zoom in a little bit from 50%.
I will. Yep. Okay, so this is just an example of a one-page resume. Now, when you're changing careers, sometimes you can have like an additional experience section if you have a lot of experience. But for the most part, when you are transitioning to a different career, if you don't have a lot of professional experience, a lot of the times you can fit it on one page, but you do not have to have a one-page resume. So let me go ahead and zoom in on here so everybody can see it nice and big. So the top 1/3 of your resume is most important, because that is where people spend the most time looking at, right? So eye tracking study after recruiter study after recruiter hiring manager studies, they all show that people spend the most time on the top 1/3 of the resume. So this is where you really want to highlight what you want that employer to know about you. So obviously you need your contact information. There's something called ATS, so applicant tracking software, that HR professionals use, you know, Workday. There's so many different, hundreds of different brands, and some companies even create their own ATS. They're basically just like big old filing cabinets that when you apply to a position, you know how it asks you to upload your resume? It parses your resume. So the software goes from left to right, top to bottom, and then spits out the information into the application. But not only does it spit it out into the application, it also spits it out into their ATS system and stores it. So a lot of ATS systems can actually rank you compared to the job description, and will order resumes in most likely to be a good fit to least likely. And so you want to make sure that your resume is as applicable with the applicant tracking system as possible, so you don't have to manually enter stuff in. And then on the other end, the recruiter doesn't have to manually enter a bunch of stuff in. So instead of having contact information in the header and footer, because applicant tracking systems can't read inside of that, you want it on the page itself. And so like if you need a little bit more room to make everything fit, you can always go under layout, margins, and change the margin. So I always like to go with a moderate margin, so there's plenty of white space. So lots of different ways to do your header information, but the most important things is you want your contact information on there, your phone number, your email, your LinkedIn URL, which you can hyperlink. If you have a portfolio, go ahead and throw that on there.
Just wanted to interrupt you a little bit. I'm sorry about that, but
no, you're good.
One thing on LinkedIn, please change your LinkedIn URL. Please, everyone, if she's watching this, when LinkedIn gives you by default a random character, letters, and numbers on the URL. You could customize that URL to your first name, your last name. and then put something there that's meaningful. Like mine says IT professional _ Kev Apolinario, right? So you want to make sure you update your LinkedIn URL. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah, and we can drop in the comments a how-to how to change your LinkedIn URL. So that way, if you're not sure where to go on the settings, we can drop that in there. Okay, so the reason why I left align and right align my contact information is because when I was a recruiter, there was a lot of discrimination that went on in hiring. And so I intentionally like to shift from focusing on the name to focusing on your target position. So if you have your name centered and then your contact information underneath it, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no right or wrong way aside from keeping it out of your header, but have that information in there. Now, in terms of branding, so everybody has a professional brand. And if you don't create one for yourself, then somebody's else going to give it to you. So what a lot of people do is have a lot of fluff up in this beginning section, or have an objective statement, which is like by far the worst. If you have an objective statement, do not apply to another job until you take that off. Nobody wants to read that you're eager to learn and grow. No, they want you to be able to come in and do the job. So you have to show that you have the competencies to do that. So right off the bat, instead of focusing on your name, now this is one option, not the, die hard fast rule. Feature your target job description. Now, if in one company it's called a Helpdesk technician, another company it's called Helpdesk support, just swap that out before you go to apply to make sure that whatever job description you're applying to is listed on your resume, because that's going to boost your resume ranking in the grand scheme of things, because job titles are important, especially if you don't have experience. It's going to show you've never done this before, but it's going to it at least from a technology standpoint, the human being will know you've never done it before, but the computer's not smart enough to know you haven't done it before. So then underneath this, I just have a couple of key skills that the job description is going to be asking for a help desk technician. So technical support, remote desk support, and troubleshooting. And just to give it a little bit of a visual pop, all I did was add some shading to it. This is all ATS friendly. So if you go in the paragraph section of Microsoft Word and you click the borders, there's tons of options here. This is where you can get underlines, borders, shadings, etc. So all I do is go over to shadings and add a little gray box. And then you can for even more visual elements, it will automatically come across the paragraph. And I just indent it a little bit just for a little bit of visual appeal, because when a recruiter, especially for entry-level IT positions, we're bombarded with thousands of applicants. And so going through a resume and they look the same after the same after the same, visually standing out is just going to subconsciously make you a little bit different than some of the other candidates who aren't using any type of visuals in terms of shadings, borders, colors, bolding, underline, etc. Okay, so then instead of using an objective statement, summary statements are great, but some people use like really big, long paragraphs. And so Kevin, I don't know if you might agree with me or disagree, but my understanding is that human beings are hardwired to conserve energy. That's a nice way of saying we're lazy, right? We don't want to read a book on someone's resume. We want to just be able to skim and find the important information. So whatever is true for you, how you want somebody to talk about you when you're not in the room, go and have up here at the top of your resume. So let me zoom on this so you can see. So you know how like Kevin, his tag, his name is like Kevtech. That's how people associate him, right? So maybe on your LinkedIn profile, your headline is like tech nerd, whatever it may be. Have that branding consistent across your resume, LinkedIn profile, any professional portfolio you may have online, depending on, what kind of industry you're transitioning from. But this resume is for someone who's never had education in IT, has never been to a boot camp, and has only watched Kevin's YouTube videos and created a home lab for themselves. So this is the tagline I came up with there, the statement, the executive summary statement. So self-motivated tech nerd with a strong background in customer service, technical troubleshooting, and technical knowledge. Created a home lab to learn technical competencies and successfully acquire certifications. For all of those of you who have tested for certs, you know they're not easy. And so to be self-taught shows a different level of hustle that is going to make you stand out to compare to other people who maybe attended a boot camp or have a degree in some type of computer science industry. And then underneath it, remember, the top 1/3 is the most important of your resume. So you want to immediately show them what all things you have to offer. Now, some of these things you may or may not have. If you don't have it, make sure you don't put it on there. Because in IT, when you get to the interview process, you don't want to show up that you lied about knowing something that you don't know about, because you're going to have technical competency skills that proves that you know how to use this stuff. Basically, if you can't pick up something like within the hour, you don't want to use it. And I see in the comments somebody's having trouble with audio. So Kevin, can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay, so certifications are obviously a huge thing. You guys all know this. That's something that employers want because it proves that you know at least a little bit of something about it, whether or not you've ever done it in a real capacity. Systems, languages, databases, software. Those are all some things in the tech industry, that are important. Some of these things you may have, some of these things you may not have. Just keep working through it. So you can have them organized like that. And then you can also have like a catch-all section too, where it just says technical skills. So when it comes time to looking at the job description, right? So maybe they say they need you to know these languages or have these certifications, but then they have other things like they want you to have experience working on computers and it doesn't fit nicely into any of these other categories. You can always have a technical skills section where you can then, throw out anything else that may be in the job description that you do have that competency for, but doesn't fit nicely anywhere else. So a catch-all section is like a super big trick on how to increase your ranking when it comes to those keywords. And then for those of you who don't have tech experience, but enjoy doing tech things, adding a personal interest or hobby section can really make you stand out. So, like my husband, for example, he builds his own computers and he builds like these smart mirrors for the house. I have no idea how he did it, but like he's an executive recruiter. He's not a tech guy. He literally went on people's YouTube channels and figured out how to do it himself and created them. So if that's you, if that's something that you're doing as an interest of yours, add that on your resume because it's going to make you stand out. It's just one more thing that's going to elevate you if you have it. So like building computers, if you ever built a computer before, then you've had to design a custom hardware system for optimal performance. Like if you're a gamer, you're probably going to have some type of special graphics stuff, whatever that stuff that you put into there. Same thing with memory, speed, and storage, right? So for my husband, it was speed and storage. And so those things you can add in. I'm sure for all you tech people, you're going to know a whole bunch more stuff where you could actually like name specific parts and sizes. This is just a template from a non-tech person. So go ahead and add that kind of stuff in there. Same things if you've ever made like a smart mirror or smart monitor, you have to write code for this. And it's not difficult. Like you can literally copy and paste it off of different people's YouTube channels, but it shows that you've been able to do something techie to make someone believe you even more that you have the ability to come in and do the job without any experience. So wrote code to provide additional functionality to smart home plan, security, dashboard design, integration of other computers, and automating tasks. So there's a lot of things that you can add into a personal interest section that you can leverage in your interview. So you can go from saying, I don't have any experience to I've created a home lab. And these are some of the things that I've done in that home lab. And Kevin, you've got so many other trainings. So what's some other things that they could put in this section based on things that you've trained in your YouTube videos?
Oh my god, I have so many videos. So I have just so I have operating systems is fine. Office 365 is one. That's very important. I have Office 365 videos. Azure, so you put Azure all the way up there. I also cover Cisco VPN and how to troubleshoot Cisco VPN because people are working from home right now. So you need to know how to troubleshoot VPN issues when they're using their home laptop. I also did a video on Active Directory and Server 2016, Server 2019, and I covered a few other things, like for example, Dual. Like Dual is a two-factor authentication application that is MFA, multi-factor authentication, that people are using to log into their computers, their websites, just like things that they're logging in for the company themselves. So you need to know how to do those, like how to troubleshoot those applications. So I mean, it's whatever you want to add based on what videos you watch from my channel, because there's like so many different videos that I have created that are software related based that you'll be using in a job environment for IT support. So
okay, so for all of you watching, you got some other videos to catch up on too, because then you can add it, especially if you can put it into practice, learn it, do it, train it, then it can go on your resume. It's not so if they say, you know, where have you ever done this before, you can say, I built a home lab and am self-taught, and this is how you do it. Let me walk you through step 1, step 2, step 3, and they're going to be like, yeah, that's right. And so it'll give them confidence to take a chance on you. Okay, so after, you know, you've got the top 1/3 of your resume with like the things you for sure you don't want them to miss. If you have any personal interests that are directly related to something techie, I would go ahead and put that up at the top. If you don't have anything, like I'm not cool, I don't have any cool interests, I'm not going to add that on my resume, but this is a unique way to stand out. And then next, of course, goes your professional experience. And so, you know, so this is actually my sister's experience who transitioned into tech. So she used to work as in restaurants, then became a caterer supervisor, and then became a sous chef at a university, and then, you know, got her certifications and transferred into the industry. And so something that I did for her, it was like, okay, she has professional experience. So she's proven that she can show up on time, that people will not fire her because she worked at these organizations for a few years. She did have some feedback surveys in regards to customer satisfaction. And in these roles, she did have to interact with some tech. So at one organization, they used Workday, and she had to upload different information into the dashboard. So she had to go in and update all that kind of stuff. And then in another organization, she had to get all these tablets and put the restaurant POS system on there. And she just was always the one having to figure out what's wrong when they stopped working. And so when you have professional experience that isn't related to what you're going into, try to find things that are transferable. Like Kevin said at the beginning of this video, customer service is always there, right? Received 89% satisfaction score on feedback surveys. So that's a way to prove that people will want to work with you. And then if you can highlight any type of IT type of things that you had to do while you were in those roles, whether it was a catering supervisor or a sous chef, there is tech things that you have to do and troubleshoot and figure out and deal with in any role that you're in. So if you stick to the first bullet point being an overarching scope of your responsibilities. So assisted the executive chef with meal planning and preparing dinners, uploaded menus, including ingredients and nutrition information onto Sorority Workday dashboard. So that's an overarching scope of what they did, sprinkled in a little bit of tech information. The second bullet point being customer satisfaction. And in the next role, the first bullet point, again, overarching scope of responsibility, because storytelling is really powerful when you're trying to paint that picture. So manage a serving staff of 6 at events for groups as large as 250 plus. That was the overarching scope of what she did. but then that second bullet point going and adding something technical into it. Configured all tablets with Lightspeed Restaurant POS system and was a go-to person for resolving technical issues. So obviously, as a catering supervisor, she wasn't doing tech all day, but she's pulling the tech experience from those roles and featuring it on her resume to show she does have some comparable experience. So when somebody says, I don't have any experience, I call bullshit, because if you have a phone, you have some type of tech experience. If you have a computer, some type of tech experience. It's just, if you believe it in yourself that you're worthy of this job, and if you can paint that picture, tell that story of why you truly are the candidate they should select for this position. And then, of course, if you have an education background, add it. So like Bachelor's of Arts, she had a culinary degree. Instead of putting culinary arts, I dropped that. It's just a Bachelor of Arts. It shows that she has a bachelor's. And so for some tech positions, they're not even requiring bachelor's anymore. Being self-taught, having the boot camp, or having the experience is enough. So that was a lot of talking, Kevin. What questions do you have? What do you want to talk on? And then I see there's so many so much feedback and questions in the comments.
Oh no, that this definitely helped for anyone watching today. This resume will be in my description by the end of the video, and it's also going to be in my Discord as well. And we do have people on Discord that basically go over your resume. If your resume is going if you're having issues with your resume, like we have a resume section on Discord just for people that have bad resumes, and we go over your resume. So just keep that in mind for anyone that's watching today. We do have I told her about like over 300 people got a job in IT just being on my Discord. So it's
yes.
And then someone got a job yesterday. I'm gonna post it on LinkedIn later today. Someone got a job yesterday and they really inspired me, and they gave me they said thank you to me, and it was an inspiration. Sam, his name is Sammers on my Discord. He got a job yesterday. He was in like a job event, and he exchanged his resume with like someone in the head of IT, and he gave him the resume, and then lo and behold, they called him. They asked him interview questions, and all the interview questions that they asked him were questions based on videos that I made, and he knew how to answer it right away because he saw my videos, and then he got the job, and that was yesterday. So
that's dope.
Anything is possible in IT. You just gotta believe in yourself. So
yeah, that confidence is huge, and that preparation is key, because the resume, even though I'm a professional resume writer, it's only one teeny tiny little piece. You want me to stop sharing this screen, Kevin?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. The resume is only one teeny tiny little piece to your job search toolbox. Like when it comes down to getting the job, if you're not getting calls for interviews, it's probably because something's wrong with your resume. So take Kevin's, generous offer to have your resume be reviewed on his Discourse channel. Now, if you are getting interviews and you're not passing them, it's either because you need some more prep, or you need to practice some more on those competency tests so you can get through that. So
no, definitely agree. Like I tell people, it's if you can't get past the ATS system, it's because your resume needs work. And obviously, if you do get the actual, so my resume could only do so much, right? Like you could get a job, you could get an interview with the resume, but then the rest of it is done by you. You have to sell yourself the right way, and you have to know how to market yourself, and you need to know how to convince the manager why you're the perfect candidate for that role. And if you're able to do that as a person that's doing the interview, then you could get the job. So a lot of it has to do with the resume, but then a lot of it has to do with how you sell yourself, how you market yourself, and why you're the perfect candidate for the position, and why you should be hired for that position. Because you have to convince the hiring manager why you're the perfect candidate, and you have to convince the hiring manager why you're the perfect fit for that company over the 100 people that you're interviewing behind you. So very important. Very, very important.
For sure. All right, Kevin, what comes next? You want to tackle some of these questions in the comments?
Yeah, definitely. Let's go over some questions. Wait a second. Let's see. You guys have any questions? Just drop it down in the comments section. We'll answer it.
So Darren says, what comes after desktop support? What a complicated question. So, Kevin, what would you say? Because like when I look at IT charts, it like breaks off in so many different ways. Like you could go cloud, you could go, you could go this. There's so many different routes depending on what your interest is in, right?
Yeah. Yeah, someone was saying that your video is a little laggy for some reason.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. It's okay. It's just, yeah, you're like freezing.
You were doing that earlier for me, so hopefully it'll switch back for me later too.
Yeah. That's weird. Okay. It's all right. So for desktop support, it depends where you want to work in. So if you want to work in the cybersecurity realm, then I will look at Hack the Box, Try Hack Me. You have to look at the blue team, the red team, the purple team after desktop support. That's entirely up to you. Now, if you want to work for networking, you have to look at Network Plus, and you have to look at CCNA. Now, if you want to work in sysadmin, you need to look at like more of cloud-based certifications, like Azure, AWS. Depends where you live, obviously, because everywhere the certs are different. So you may want to look at Azure, you may want to look at AWS. Check your job market, check online. They may ask for VMware certifications. They may ask for Citrix certifications. They may ask for stuff like Veeam, how to do backups on servers and stuff like that. If you're doing sysadmin, so it depends where you live. It depends what you want to do, because desktop support is generic. You could go to so many different places after that. So hopefully that answers your question.
I'm not sure who this question is from, AM1, but it says most people are just frustrated because their expectation that tech should work and are angry when simple fixes don't solve it. Once I realize this, I can keep calm and make them happy by solving it.
Oh yeah, that was for me because we got talked about the customer service part. That was
Oh
me.
yeah.
That was earlier. Yeah, it's just you have to know how to interact and engage with the people around you. You have to get a feel for the hiring manager and for the people that you work with, because not everyone's having a good day. So you have to know how to interact with different people. They're having a bad day, and if you have good customer service, you probably brighten their day. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's see. More questions?
There's a lot of comments. It's
Yeah.
like, for those of you who aren't seeing it how we're seeing it, it's like going back through and trying to find through all of them. But I think it's super dope that your audience engages with each other and supports each other. Somebody just said they just transitioned to an engineer role, which is awesome. So congratulations.
Yeah, I think is that Star?
I don't know. I'd have to go back up and look. There's so many of them. And then I see a comment here where it's these companies want a lot of stuff, yet they pay like crap. Yeah. Companies expect a lot for a little. And that's where like the job search coaching side of my business is something that's like my number one. That's what keeps me going, is to help people find good companies to work for, because so often people just apply and pray that they're going to get the job, and then they get the job and they're like, this company sucks, my boss is terrible. But if you're strategic about your job search, then you're going to research these companies before you even waste your time applying to a company you wouldn't even want to work for. You're going to follow them on LinkedIn, connect with people at that organization and people who have recently left that organization in roles that you're interested in. Find out like, hey, I saw that you recently left this company. I'm curious about applying there. Could you tell me a little bit about the culture? And they may say, yeah, I just got a better opportunity. I really liked it. And then you can message them back saying like, oh, that's awesome. Do you know anybody who still works there? Would love to chat with them. And then now all of a sudden you have an introduction to who your new hiring manager might be,
Mm-hmm.
you know, who your boss might be. And just by having those conversations, you can learn who you want to stay away from and be connected with so many decision makers or so many potential peers of yours that, you know, have access to referral bonuses. Especially in IT, a lot of companies do have referral programs. So if you talk to them and say, hey, I'm interested, and they like you, chances are they'd be willing to refer you just off of you complimenting them, having a small ask of them, and following back up with, you know, endorsements of their skills or a thank you note or something like that. When you give to people, you get. And so there's a lot of that goes into it, Kevin. Not you, Kevin, but the other Kevin in the comments. There are companies, you know, you do have to look at it when it comes down.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm laughing because you keep lagging over the place. You may have to rejoin. You have to come back
Okay,
and
here,
rejoin.
let me leave and come back.
Yeah. Give me a second, guys. It's funny. I don't know. I just find it funny. I don't know why. It's technical difficulties. She's gonna rejoin right now. Just give it a second. It's just something. She's probably having internet issues. I don't know what's going on with her with her stream. I'm guessing it's something to do with her latency on her like ISP at home. But yeah, you have to do your homework. There we go.
Maybe it'll work now.
Yeah, it looks better now. There we go. I was just laughing because you're like lagging over the place. It's funny for me. I don't know why I found it.
Yeah, gotta love tech issues.
Yeah, it looked like like an internet issue. I don't know what that was, but it's good now. Now it's good.
Okay, cool.
But definitely, I agree with you 100%. Even Tim said the same thing. We agree with you 100%. You have to know how to market yourself. And the other thing that I stress too, like because I train people in IT as well,
Yeah.
is you have to know what you're worth. Like inside of you, you have to know what you're worth. Like you're not worth $5 or $10. You're worth more than that. So that's the other thing. And the other thing is like, don't get too desperate for a job if the pay is extremely low. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So you have to look at that as well, if that makes sense. I tell people that. I stress that out like crazy. I don't want you working an IT job if it's paying you way less than what you're currently making too. Like that shouldn't be the way. So.
And you can do research on that. Glassdoor.com, salary.com. If you want to do a salary analysis on yourself, like from an HR compensation standpoint, go to what's it called? I just posted about it yesterday. Hold on, let me look at it because the website's not coming to mind.
I think there's a
Payscale.com.
Payscale.com. Okay.
Yeah, so payscale.com, you can put in your education, your experience, what company you're targeting, and it will spit back out at you a compensation analysis. So what can you expect based on your location, education, company you're targeting? So like say it's like a mom and pop shop, right? They may have insight whether you're going to be paid more or less than like a huge Fortune 100 company. And so it's really cool because you can get an idea on that to decide, is this a good move for you or not? And then as someone else in the comments was asking, how do you know where to go next? If you're motivated by pay, which let's face it, a lot of us are, then that could be a way to figure out what cert do you want to get next based on, you know, what is the pay projection in that particular niche.
And I was gonna say, what do you think of, was it the app called Job Scan or Resume Scan or something like that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so jobscan.co is it's an algorithm, it's an ATS. It's very it's simplistic. So at bigger organizations, they're going to have something a lot fancier. But basically, you upload your resume, it scans it, and you upload your resume in the job description. It scans it and says what you're missing, and it basically spits out, okay, add these things to your resume. Now, sometimes it's like, no, I'm not adding that to my resume because it's not relevant at all. And then you see the error in technology. And sometimes it's like, oh yeah, but I don't have that skill, or oh, I completely missed that on the job description. So without saying what I'm trying to say, but by saying it, you know how like you can clear your cookies?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So clear your cookies because you get 5 free scans. Clear your cookies and then see if it asks to keep pay for. So after 5 scans, you have to pay for it. But
Yeah. That I know.
Clear your cookies and then see if it still asks you to pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that I'm aware. I'm aware of that because I have it on my Discord. People have used it in my Discord, and people have gotten jobs running that scan on their resume. And oh, I'm missing this on my resume. Oh, I'm missing that. And the thing you talked about earlier today about resumes, like if you're brand new, like, and if you give me a 5-page resume, I'm gonna stare at you. What do you think about? What do you think about that? What do you think about that?
No, that's way too long. Oh, okay. Think about this. For everybody watching, your resume is a professional branding material. It's marketing collateral. So that document isn't a reflection of everything that you have ever done. It's featured content to make yourself attractive to the role that you are applying to. So if things aren't relevant, don't put it in most cases. So in the example, it's not very relevant, that previous experience being a chef and being a caterer supervisor, but you do want to show that you do have previous work experience, and so feature some technical competencies from that area. But if it's like so like say you went to community college for coursework in this and another community college for coursework in that because you couldn't figure out what you wanted to be when you grew up, and then you did all these LinkedIn learnings on a whole bunch of stuff that's not related to tech, take all that shit off. Like nobody cares aside from maybe you. Have it be related to the job that you are targeting. The document is not for you. The document is for the hiring manager, and so it needs to speak the hiring manager's language. Otherwise you're never going to get the job. I like what Teresa said. How much of the job description should you compare your experience and resume? I feel like if you fit about 75% of the job description, depending on the company, go ahead and apply. You will never be an 100% match. If like how Kevin was saying, go on jobscan.co and run it. If you're trying to get to 100%, then your resume is literally going to have to be a copy and paste of the resume, and no one will hire you with that either. You just need to be honest. These are what skills I have, and if they're comparable enough to the job description, go ahead and apply. And if you have less than 75%, then I would suggest that you have an internal referral to say, she's trainable, worked with her in the past, she picks up on things super quick, she'd make a great addition to the team, and then before you know it, somebody with less experience is going to be higher on the pile than somebody who has the experience that they're looking for. Because chances are, if somebody's making a lateral move from one organization to the next, they're going to get bored pretty quickly. Where if it's somebody that, has some foundation and just needs an additional training, they'll be satisfied in that role for a little longer. So there's some of that going on too.
Good question. Very good question. Someone was saying maybe turn her camera off and turn it back on when you were lagging earlier. It's funny.
Yeah, my bad, guys. Gotta love technology.
Let's see here. I'm looking at the questions. So Kevin, we just went over the resume. So you have to build your home lab if you want to get it. It's like, so without any experience, you have no chance? Question mark. Like, no, you got to build a home lab. I answer that question. You cannot. You have no job experience. You create your own job experience by creating a home lab, and I have plenty of videos on that. So
I think it was one of your posts or one of your videos, and you were talking about like schools and libraries and stuff like that within your community will accept volunteers all the time. And so if you go and reach out to maybe like a local nursing home or something and say, hey, I'm working on getting these tech certifications? Do you need any help around the building? You know, maybe somebody in the nursing home needs help on their personal computer, you know, getting their Alexa set up or something like that. Go and do that. And now all of a sudden you have a reference. So build the home lab, volunteer, and yeah, nobody's just going to say, yeah, you have no experience at all, no training, no education, I'm going to take a chance on you. No, because organizations don't want to pay, don't want to train. They want somebody who can come in and do the work. And so if you're somebody who needs a little bit of training, you need to do the work to be able to be qualified for the job. It's like, would you hire a plumber that's not licensed? Or, you know, would you take the time to hire, you know, a professional landscaper who's doesn't know how to use a lawnmower? Like, no, you want a little bit of knowledge. Otherwise, you're probably not going to pay them very much.
Mm-hmm. Someone was asking a question on LinkedIn. Sorry, you can't see LinkedIn.
Okay.
They're asking a question. Should you put your high school education or college education or both?
So if you have a college degree, then just leave high school off, unless like you went. So like I'm in Chicago, and so we have like charter schools from all of our CPSs shutting down, which is so sad. I shouldn't laugh, but so there's some tech high schools that have technical programs where you come out of high school and you're A+ certified and have had all this hands-on experience in the school setting. If you have a high school diploma like that, where you took those related courseworks and nothing like that in college, then go ahead and add it. But otherwise, drop your high school, just add your college. Even if you just took coursework, you can go ahead and say, you know, like business administration coursework or general coursework at whatever college or university. And if you have a degree, make sure you spell it properly. So a lot of people put like bachelor's *S, like bachelor's of art, bachelor's of science. The correct way, like grammar wise, is bachelor of. That's just a little pet peeve that drives resume writers crazy.
Yeah, and I have another question. What about someone that has that is currently studying to this is a tough question, by the way. I can't answer this question either. So if someone's studying for a certification like the CompTIA A+, will you put it on the resume that you're currently studying it, or you put nothing at all? Like it's kind of a hard question, because some people say yes and then some people say no, and then some people say it's like a yes and no answer. It's just like
everything in the job search is always, it depends, right? So for people who are pursuing additional education, what I put is expected completion 2022. And so I would put it on there because that shows you're working towards it. Now, if you don't pass it, obviously you need to take it off. But it just shows that you are working towards it, studying for it. And now, if you have related experience that's more significant than studying for this cert, then I probably wouldn't put it on there. But if that cert is what's going to be your foot into the door in an organization, then yeah, I would go ahead and put expected completion 2022 or spring of whatever, depending on if you know when you're going to sit or not for it.
And then someone said, how far should someone go in for work experience? I don't know what that means.
So yeah, on a resume, again, it depends. If you're a senior level professional, say you've got 30 years of experience, I either go like 10, 15 years. You know, some people worked at the same organization for 30 years and have to be put it on there. However, if you're relatively a new professional, so let's say you're like our age, right? In like 30s or younger, don't have your high school jobs on there. Don't have your college jobs on there unless they're related. Like unless you did Helpdesk at like your college or something, don't have it on there. And then just have your most recent. So Teresa, if you want, DM me your resume and I'm happy to give you a complimentary resume review for you to give you that customized feedback. Because what works for one person doesn't work for another person.
Exactly.
So
totally agree with you.
Yeah, like and let's say like maybe in your early 20s you were a job hopper and every 3 months you worked at a different restaurant. Well, then maybe just put like the last job you've had, if you've, made it there for over a year, then do that. It really depends on your unique situation. But rule of thumb is the past 10 years of experience, or and then you can have like an additional experience section and just list it without going into bullet points so your resume doesn't get really long. Or you can do like since you've graduated college, what your professional experience has been since you've had like your grown-up job versus like, oh, I babysitted here, I did dog walking there, like those gig type of jobs.
Yeah. Someone was asking me a question. It's saying how far back should you go back in work experience? So you think you answered it already, so should be good.
You see this question from Henry about counter offers.
Yeah, I saw that. I have my resume. My resume is 2 pages. I actually have a whole YouTube. I have a video. I made a video on my resume. So
Yeah,
I have my resume. It's two pages long, but it's because I've been in IT for a really long time. It's just. But I'm not gonna make it 10 pages. That's crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
I have seen IT people with like 6 pages, but they're like contractors. So they go and they do these different projects and it's super, super niche. So every single, like they'll go in and work on this project and it's super different than the next project they've worked on using different technology. So I've seen IT resumes that can kind of get longer, but rule of thumb, you don't really want more than 2 pages. And for somebody really early in their career, rule of thumb, 1 page, but these aren't hard and fast rules.
Yeah, the thing is that not every resume works the same for everyone. Like I tell people that too. It's just why That's why I have 10 different resumes on my YouTube channel, because one of them works for you, but one of them may not work for someone else. So I tell people, change your resume. Like, it's actually a good question to ask you. Like, how long should you wait to change up your resume if you're not getting any response?
So the formatting of your resume isn't going to make or break your resume in terms of, okay, so like you don't want tables and charts and stuff like that in your resume, rule of thumb, because it can mess up applicant tracking systems. But if it just comes into like, how should I order it, that's not going to make or break it. What's going to make or break your resume is the content, right? Formatting is queen, content is king. So it doesn't really matter if your education's up at the top or if your education's down at the bottom. Switching those things up are like such a minute change. What it's going to be is, how are you articulating your story? So if you can't articulate yourself in a way that sells what value you have to offer, then it doesn't matter how many times you change the format, you're not going to get the job. You have to learn the art of storytelling, how to convince somebody that you have the skills it takes to do the job. And so you have to be able to put your skills into context, which is hard. So what I typically do with clients is recommend, like, especially when I do like my rapid reviews where I'm not actually doing the content. Mm-hmm. I'm just offering suggestions and then leaving it up to people to implement it. If you're not seeing any progress within max 4 weeks, you need to troubleshoot, because you are just wasting time.
I was just wondering. I always get asked that question, by the way. So people ask me that question, like, how long should I wait before I change my resume? And then someone asked
what do you say? Like, what do you say? What's your
couple weeks, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Like, if it's not hitting the mark, then your resume needs work. And I seen that because it's something the recruiting manager or HR or the just IT manager, they ghost you because your resume is bad. So that does happen in IT. They will ghost you if your resume is bad.
You get that automatic. Well, it's not automatic. You get that notice like, you have not been selected for this position. Thank you for applying. Like, we'll keep your resume on file. It feels like an automated thing, but basically what happens is, like, in the ATS, the recruiter is going to say like, okay, I'm going to pull out these 50 candidates out of the 1,000 to look at further, and all of the rest you know, the 950 other people that don't come close to making the mark, I'm going to click, 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 and then send the, you know, the legal email that the legal team put together saying like, you're not a fit, bye-bye. Because then if you get too many of those messages, like next day saying like, you're not a fit, that means you're immediately being rejected. They're not even giving you more than 15 seconds of their time. Something's going wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And so the first, I always tell people the first part is the resume. So if you get past the resume, the next part is the actual interview. So that's you. That's not me. That's you. That's whoever's going in. Like I can't sit here and do the interview for you. So you have to go and do the interview. And obviously, if you don't get the job, then either you're lacking technical questions, like they ask you technical questions, you don't know how to answer the technical questions, or you're lacking soft skills. So basically, you don't know how to formulate a conversation with someone. So because a lot of people that work IT, they're good with IT. I know people that are good at IT, but then their people skills are so bad. Like I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but you need to know how to interact with people, and that scares me a lot in IT because a lot of it has to do with technology. Like yes, you can know the technology, but also like we tend to be like a little nerdy, like nerds, right? We tend to not know how to interact with people, and that becomes a problem because you need to know how to talk to people, especially if you work help desk or IT support. You need to know how to break the ice and have a conversation with someone as if they're your mom and dad or just a regular person. You need to know how to do that. It's very important. So
yeah, pretend you're helping grandma with her new iPhone.
yeah, exactly. Just talk like that. Like it shouldn't be like I know that some people are struggle with that because they're not good. They're shy. They're timid. They don't know how to talk to people. So I tell people to participate in webinars. I'm on Discord all the time talking to people. Come on Discord and talk to have someone interview you, do practice interviews. Well, but there's like so many different things you could do to break the ice and make yourself stand out and feel more comfortable when talking to a hiring manager or HR. And you need to know how to break the ice and how to make yourself a lot less tense because we get tense when we do job interviews, and how to just interact. You don't want to sound like a robot, you know? That's the other thing.
That's what Henry just said, Mr.
Yeah,
Robot.
exactly. Yeah. That's very important. So even someone said like soft skills was the main reason I got hired as a tech engineer level 1. They trained me on everything else. See, exactly. So
Yeah.
right there. And that's pretty much it. Let me see if there's any more questions. I saw someone had a question about certifications, and we already spoke about that. And someone, Ear Candy, he said maybe it's time to make my resume in home lab. Yeah, like let me go to his thing. So maybe it's time to remake my resume in home lab. I have to watch your videos because he said something else over here that actually caught my attention. He said, I got my A+ with no IT work experience. I'm really struggling here to hear back and applying for entry jobs. So that's the reason why we made this video today, because the resume that we made, it actually has home lab experience and it's going to make you stand out. Yeah. And you have something you could talk about when you go to the actual job market, because when you go to the hiring manager, they want to know that you can do the job, right? If you build a home lab and you could formulate that into a story, and then you could sell that to the hiring manager and explain why you're the perfect candidate for the position, then you could get the job. So that's why I tell people, do the home lab and look at because a lot of these jobs like Helpdesk, right? They ask for Active Directory, Office 365, account creation, password reset. And if you know how to do that in a home lab, and then you could talk about that from your home lab experience and tell that to the hiring manager. I have done this before. I understand how this works. I understand you have to go into Server Manager. You click on users and computers. You search for the person on their account. You right-click on their name, reset password. You could disable their account. And I'm familiar with that. I know how that works. And that's the reason why you should hire me. So if you know how to formulate that into a story, then you'll definitely get the job. So that's why I tell people, do the home labs. Home labs are very important. And it becomes repetition. You repeat it over and over again. And it's muscle memory. You do it over and over again until you know until you can memorize what you're doing, until you can actually formulate it into a story, and until you're comfortable with talking about it. Because one thing is watching a video, and another thing is actually doing it.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answers your question, because he's asking me about it.
Yeah, and if you decide to do a home lab, document it, like on your LinkedIn. Say like, what's up guys, just got some new parts in, check it out, this is what I'm building, this is why I went with this brand or this size, Or like, can you believe that this chip right now is $1,500 when 2 years ago it was only $300? Stuff like that. And if you document that, especially on a platform like LinkedIn, where recruiters are always looking for talent, then you're already gonna show a bit of your personality. You're going to have already proof that you do know how to do this stuff, more than just somebody trying to believe a piece of paper.
Exactly. So, because I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're busy. I'm sorry about that. I know you're very busy. So can you tell me more about your website and what you do besides? Because I know we went over a resume today, but what do you do?
Yeah, so I started my career off working for the Department of Labor, where I got experience with IT. So one of the trades that we ran was an A+ certification program, and then eventually transitioned over to managing reduction in force. So IT was one of my sector centers throughout Cook County, which Chicago, for those of you who aren't in the area. And then I would help people get their ITIL certifications, their PMP, things like that. Eventually became a recruiter, was in the aviation space. So everything from marketing, IT, to pilots and mechanics. And so that was an interesting experience. And it wasn't quite for me, because I realized I really like helping people reach their goals. And sometimes hiring managers don't always pick the best person. And so I decided to open up my own business to make any ambitious professional stand out as that best candidate for the job, so they get hired for their dream job, working at their dream company. And maybe if you don't have a dream, then it just be something that's going to pay the bills for right now until you figure out what you want to be when you grow up. But I really enjoy working with ambitious professionals, somebody who is hungry and will hustle to do what they need to do to stand out, whether that be taking their content on LinkedIn to the next level, or doing those awkward networking outreaches, like, hey, can you introduce me to anybody at this company? Or what would be your tip for somebody who's just got their certification? So like those networking scripts and stuff. So in my business, how I serve people is typically I do done for you resume and LinkedIn optimization. So I overhaul people's resumes, completely transform people's LinkedIn profiles, top to bottom, front to back, and then do additional job search coaching with clients. So that way they can land that perfect fit job quickly, making more money than they ever have before. So it's a very rewarding business that I'm in, and I obviously monetize it, but I also do a lot of volunteering as well, because when people are fulfilled at work and are making a living wage, they're happier as people, happier at home. Our communities are better for it, and our organizations and the products that we have as consumers are better. So that's me in a nutshell and what I offer my clients.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you one more question because I want to keep you here too long, because I have stuff I gotta do too.
You hear my toddler screaming in the background?
Yeah. I was just gonna. How can people find you? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, so I spend the majority of my time on LinkedIn. So Teegan Bartos, TeeganBartos. I have a YouTube channel, so Jolt Your Career. I also have a website, joltyourcareer.today. But I'm most active on LinkedIn. So if you're one of the people watching today who's like, I want that template, go on Kevin's discourse or contact me directly. If you're the couple of people that I offered complimentary resume reviews to, go ahead and DM me on LinkedIn. You'll reach me fastest that way.
And I was gonna say one last thing. It was awesome that I have met you. So if you guys don't know, she was working with me with Australia with Tech Skills Institute, and we train students in Australia. So I do the IT support training, and she does the resume training with them. So, and then I think you do LinkedIn training as well, the LinkedIn profile part as well. Am I right or am I wrong? I don't know if you
Yeah,
do.
resume and LinkedIn. And so
Yeah.
It's cool to see all of them like starting to post, like going on video and showing where they're at, how they're doing these technical skills and stuff. So isn't it so cool to see like all of them getting jobs and making their dreams come true.
Yeah, that's the other. That's why immediately we clicked right away, because she likes helping people in IT with their resume, and I love helping people with hands-on training,
Yeah.
and she's a huge believer of lab experience and hands-on training and soft skills. This is what we
Yeah.
talk about, soft skills, right? And I greatly appreciate that you took the time to talk today, and I also appreciate the fact that it's funny how the world works with connections, right? Like I didn't think I would talk to a resume writer, a resume tech writer, and I didn't think I would work with someone that's from the United States and Australia. It's just so random, but
I know,
how
right?
the world works. So
Exactly. Oh, well, Kevin, thanks so much for having me today. Everybody in the comments, thank you so much. I see somebody just said, oh yeah, Kevin, you just added it.
yeah,
So
that's my double ganger. Kev rocks. He's another name. His name is Kevin too. Double
nice.
ganger.
Nice. Oh yeah, it's not even Jolt Your Career, it's Teegan Elise. Yeah, because evidently you need like 100 followers on YouTube to be able to switch the name of it. And so if anybody wants to go ahead and hit subscribe so I can change my YouTube channel to Jolt Your Career, that would be so dope.
And she's on my Discord, guys.
Yes. Yep. Just tag me and I'm happy to help if you have a question. I'm still figuring out how it works. But super dope community that you've created on there. So kudos to you, Kevin. You are just blowing me away by how much energy you have and how much giving that you do to this community is incredible. So I really appreciate you being a part of my inner circle now.
Oh no, definitely. I appreciate you for coming in today. And it's nothing to do with me. It's more of the community. I always give my love for my IT community, because I love my IT community. I love my LinkedIn community. Everyone here is trying to help each other, and we're trying to motivate each other. No negative vibes over here. And I'm just trying to advance your career in IT, and I just want everyone to get a job in IT. That's just me. That's just a Kevin thing. That's just me. And that's how it is. Anyway, you have any final words you want to say? Any words of inspiration, motivation that you want to say to everyone before we go and wrap it up?
Yeah, it's a really easy way to stand out in your job search. If you put like 20% more effort in to your presentation of your resume, your presentation on LinkedIn, and the effort that you put into your interview prep, just 20% more, you are going to stand out 100% more compared to anybody else. Because if you're hungry to get into this industry, that hunger, that drive, that hustle will show, and people are going to be willing to take a chance on you. So do the work and you will absolutely reap the benefits of it. I promise. And if something's not happening, reach out to me, Kevin, everybody in Kevin's circle. We're all here to help watch you win.
Thank you for that motivation. Anyway, hope you guys have a good day. Thank you for coming in today. I hope everyone has a good Saturday, a good weekend. Happy Halloween.
Yeah,
Happy Halloween. And take care, guys. I'm going to end the stream right now. If you guys have any questions, just come on Discord, okay? All right. Take care. Peace.
See ya.